Hello students, good evening. Welcome back to our foundation lectures in mathematics. In our previous lectures, we are looking at sequences and progressions, right? So we have looked at interesting sequences like triangular numbers and Fibonacci sequences. So in today's lecture, let's continue on top of with the same discussion whatever we have done in the last class. Okay, this is another interesting pattern which you could observe in nature. See, golden ratio. This is very important ratio which commonly occurs in, you could observe naturally, golden ratio. Okay, see what is that ratio is, the value would be 1.618 approximately. Okay, so how does it come? First of all, see, apart from Fibonacci numbers, okay, the ratio, if you look at the sequence of sequence of Fibonacci series and consider the ratio of the consecutive terms in Fibonacci series, okay, like first term and second term and third term and fourth term. So in this way, if you consider the ratio second term to first term, third term to second term, fourth term to third term, in that way this sequence would converge to a number, and that number is 1.618034. so this is one way we could interpret a golden ratio. And the other way is, say, consider a straight line, okay, choose it of any random length as you wish, say let it be AB. Okay, now divide this into two parts, okay, say randomly, again say C is randomly chosen. Then see the entire length AB upon AC would be equal to the ratio of longer part to the shorter part, that is AC is to BC. Okay, if you will choose that in such a way that the entire to the longer part is same as the longer to the shortest part, then the ratio what you could come across is golden ratio again. So for this reason, this golden ratio is very interesting. So there are two commonly occurring things as we have seen. One is Fibonacci numbers, okay, consecutive terms. If you consider the ratio tends to converge to a ratio that is 1.61, and the other thing is pick a straight line of random length and divide it into two parts, and if you consider the ratio in such a way that the entire to the longer part is equal to the longer part to the shortest one, then you will be getting this golden ratio. So here I have listed down the Fibonacci numbers. The first one is 2, the second one is 3. So if you consider this ratio, it would be 1.5. Similarly, the next one 3 and 5. If you consider the ratio, 1.6666. Similarly, the next number 5 and then 8. If you consider its ratio, it will be 1.6. So in this way, if you keep on continuing, okay, what you will observe is this sequence. See, it is starting from 1.5 though, this ratio. See, it is increasing to 1.66, 1.6, so on, 1.625, and finally it tends to converge to a number. Okay, that number is around 1.618, and we are calling that number as the golden ratio. Okay, students. So you need not start with 2 and 3 itself. You can choose any two numbers, and still you will observe the same pattern. Okay, construct a Fibonacci sequence. You know how to construct a Fibonacci sequence, is it? The next term would be generated by adding the previous two terms. Okay, so if you will add the previous two terms, you will be getting the next term. So in this way, if you continue with this, still what you will observe is this ratio will tend to converge to a number 1.618. And then using the golden ratio to calculate Fibonacci numbers. See, this is a very interesting formula. Directly you could say what is the Fibonacci number. Say what is the second Fibonacci number, what is third Fibonacci number. Instead of without writing the whole sequence, if you are asked what is 20th Fibonacci number, Directly you could tell by using this formula. Xn is equal to 5 power n minus 1 minus 5 power n upon root 5. Here 5 is what we will call it as golden ratio. And though these looks like irrational numbers 5 and 5 because of 1.618, but still if you will calculate it, you will see that you will come across a natural number. Okay, because Fibonacci numbers are obviously natural, right? Because you are starting with 1 1 and you are adding its previous two terms to get the next term. So obviously Fibonacci is natural, and you need not get scared though this looks complicated because of root 5 and 5 terms, but still you will find that this ends with a natural number. So remember this formula in case if you want to remember Fibonacci sequence generating. And then so suppose if you want to calculate x6 means you need to put n is equal to 6. What is x6? It is a sixth term of the Fibonacci sequence. Okay, put n is equal to 6, and then if you will use the calculator, you will observe that this value is around 8.000 something. Okay, so it would be closer to 8. Similarly, you could try with other numbers. Okay, and then see, there are some interesting patterns again occurs in between these Fibonacci numbers. This is the actual Fibonacci sequence. It starts with 0 1, you will add these two, so you will get 1, and then 1 plus 1 will give you 2, and then 1 plus 2 will give you 3, and then 2 plus 3 5, 3 plus 5 8, so on. You will be generating the Fibonacci sequence. Now if you look at, see, x3, what is x3? That is 2, right? Similarly, look at the every third number. If you look at every third number, and then what is x6? x6 is 8, and then x9 is 34, and then x12 is 144. So if you look at that, every third number is a multiple of 2. Every third number is a multiple of 2, though it doesn't look so interesting, but if you look at the other patterns as well, see, look at the fourth number is 3, and then every fourth number, look at x8 is 21, and then look at x12 is 144. See, every fourth number is a multiple of 3. Similarly, if you look at every fifth number would be a multiple of 5. Every fifth number is a multiple of 5. Okay, so in this way what you could say is every nth number is a multiple of xn. See, x3 is 2, right? So now if you will consider every third multiple, that would be multiple of this. Similarly, x4 is 3. Now if you consider every fourth multiple, okay, then every fourth multiple would be multiple of this. Okay, similarly, if you look at this, x5 is 5. Now if you consider every fifth multiple, that would be multiple of this. Okay, so here we could generalize that every nth number is a multiple of xn. Okay, students, every nth number is a multiple of xn. This is again an interesting pattern. Whoever loves numbers, they could work out this. Still there are many more interesting patterns which you could pick up from Fibonacci sequence. And now, okay, let's skip this. Again, this is very easy. For example, see, notice the first few digits are the Fibonacci sequence over here. In 1 by 89, if you calculate 1 by 89, okay, notice the first few digits, they are 0 1 1 2 3 5. See, in this way, 0 1, and then sum of these two is 1, and then sum of these two is 2, and then sum of these two is 3, and then sum of these two is 5. So in this way, if you will observe, the first few digits are nothing but the numbers of Fibonacci sequence. So this is again an interesting number, 1 by 89. And then terms below 0. See, the way we have generated Fibonacci sequence, even similarly you could generate the terms below 0 as well. Okay, just follow the same pattern, you will come across this. and this is briefly a history about the Fibonacci. He was not the first to know about the sequence actually. It was known in India ages ago, okay, pre-Indian civilization itself, Indus civilization, we know about this Fibonacci sequence. And then actually about Fibonacci, actually his real name was Leonardo Pisano and he lived in 12th century. Okay students, but actually at the first time it has been appeared in Hindu Arabic numerals, and this is the origination of India itself. And one more thing, Fibonacci day, it is celebrated on November 23rd. Can you tell what is the reason? The Fibonacci digits are 0, 1, 1 and the next one is 2 and the next one is 3, right? So here if you will observe that 11 stands for the month and 23rd is stand for the day. So November 23rd is celebrated as Fibonacci day. And then let's look at another interesting numbers pattern. This is very, very important because till now whatever we have learned, they are like of general interest, but these Pascal's triangle you will come across in many problems, okay, in your course curriculum. So let's look at what is Pascal's triangle. See, start with 1, okay, and put 1 on both sides, continue, and then again in the next row also continue by putting both ones at the end, and in between what you will do is add the 2 numbers on the top, so you will get 2. Now similarly continue with the same, put 2 ones on either ends and now add 2 numbers on the top, so you will get 3. Similarly repeat the same pattern, here 2 plus 1 you will be getting 3, okay. Now continue with the same pattern, put ones on both ends and then add 1 plus 3 you will be getting 4, and similarly 3 and 3 you will get 6, 3 and 1 you will get 4, okay. So in this way if you will continue, this looks like a triangle, right, or a pyramid, so this we will call it as a Pascal's triangle. And why it is important we will be learning, okay, down the course, but this series of numbers are very, very important because these are nothing but, so for example consider the algebraic term x plus y whole power 0. Anything raised to the power 0 is 1, right. Similarly consider x plus y whole power 1, this is x plus y, and consider x plus y whole square, this is x square plus 2xy plus y square. So now if you will observe the terms, see here there is only 1 present, and here look at the coefficients of x and y, they are 1 and 1. Similarly in the third one look at the coefficient of these terms, for x square it is 1, for 2xy the coefficient is 2, and for y square it is 1. So these are nothing but they are the numbers which are in the rows of the Pascal's triangle, okay students. Similarly if you want to write what is x plus y whole cube, directly you could write it as x cube plus next number is 3, 3x square y, decrease the powers of x and increase the powers of y, and then 3xy square, and then the last term is y cube. Similarly you could write for x plus y whole power 4, you need not evaluate these algebraically, so directly you could write the coefficients, starts with x power 4 and then the coefficient is 4, so it will be 4x cube y, and then 6 x square y square, and then 4 x y cube and y power 4, okay students. So in this way you could generate the x plus y whole power n as well, the entire expression without evaluating it algebraically, directly you could write the coefficients by looking at the Pascal's triangle, okay. So this entire set of numbers you will be dealing in mathematical problems in your chapter on binomial theorem, so in your next year. So till then try to remember this, what is meant by Pascal's triangle. So here each number how it is built, it is the numbers directly above whatever it is, add those two, then you will be getting the number below it. And then still there are many more interesting patterns, look at this. So these are Pascal's triangle, it starts with 1, and then 1 1 1 2 1 1 3 3 1, so on. Okay, these are Pascal's triangle, whatever we have learned. And on the either sides, like diagonally, you will be finding all ones. Okay, and then next you will find the numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so the next diagonal is counting numbers. And then what about the next diagonal? The next diagonal, if you look at this, see, these numbers are already we have discussed. These are nothing but the triangular numbers. What is meant by triangular numbers? Sum of first n natural numbers. So for example, what is first triangular number means? It is sum of first natural number, that is 1 itself. So the first triangular number is 1. What is second triangular number? Triangular number means sum of first n natural numbers. So second triangular number means sum of first two natural numbers. What are first two natural numbers? They are 1 and 2. So sum of 1 and 2 is 3. So your second triangular number you are getting over here. And then in the next row along the diagonal you will find 6. What is 6 again? It is the third triangular number. Third triangular number means it is sum of first three natural numbers, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3. Similarly, down if you will go along the diagonal, you will come across fourth triangular number, fifth triangle number, so on. Okay, and then the fourth diagonal numbers, they are not that important, but try to observe these patterns related to first, second and third diagonal. And then this is again another important property, symmetrical. See, this is symmetry along the vertical line, that is, see, draw up a vertical line, and what you will observe is the coefficients on the left as well as the right, they are the same, isn't it? Except when the terms are odd. Whenever the terms are even, the terms on the left and the right side, they are the same. So this is like a symmetry, right? Say, imagine that you have placed a mirror. Okay, what you see is the mirror image. So this Pascal's triangle also observes a symmetry property. Okay, students. Now, I will continue with another important discussion. Okay. See, so in our previous lecture, we have learned what is meant by an arithmetic progression, right? So whenever the consecutive terms they differ by a same difference, we will call it as, we will say that the numbers are in AP, right? So suppose consider an AP, say the first term is A and the common difference is D. So then the second term would be A plus D, third term would be A plus 2D, and fourth term is A plus 3D, and so on. If you will continue, the nth term will observe it as A plus n minus 1 times D. Okay, this is your nth term. So this is the arithmetic progression, whatever we have discussed. And also we have learned how to find the sum to n terms of an AP, right? Sum to n terms of an AP means you need to add all these terms. You need to add all these terms. And we have discussed how to find this formula as well. So to find this formula, what you will do is assume this as Sn and then again consider Sn, but now write the numbers in reverse order. See, rearranging the terms wouldn't change your addition, right? As we have discussed, say 1 plus 2 is same as 2 plus 1, isn't it? Just by rearranging 1 and 2, your sum wouldn't change. So similarly here also, let's write this same sum to n terms in the reverse order. So once you write all these terms in reverse order, what you have to do is just add this. S plus S, you will get 2S, but here addition, how you will do is add one below the other. Add column wise. Okay. So if you will add column wise, A plus n minus 1 times, this would be 2A plus n minus 1 times d, and similarly add this column, then you will get again you will get the same thing 2a plus n minus 1 times d. So similarly if you add so on column wise, what you will observe is each column would give you the sum of 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Okay. So we are getting the same number 2a plus n minus 1 d repeating, but how many times? Since there are total n terms, so this would be n times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Okay. So now to get s, what you will do is divide by 2. So you will get Sn is equal to 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Okay. So this is about arithmetic progression. Now let's start with a new topic, that is arithmetic mean. Again, this is very important for competitive exams. You need to understand what is meant by arithmetic mean. See, suppose if you are given two positive numbers, say suppose you are given two numbers, say a and b. Now they will ask you find the arithmetic mean. Say in short, I will be using am for this. Find am of a and b. So here what you need to do is, whenever they will ask you to find arithmetic mean, you need to insert an unknown number capital A in between them. Okay. And then arithmetic mean means all the three numbers after inserting the arithmetic mean, they will be in AP. This is the definition of arithmetic mean. Okay. Arithmetic mean is such a number that when it is inserted in between, then all the numbers would form an arithmetic progression. And students, already you know what is meant by arithmetic progression. Arithmetic progression means the consecutive terms differ by a common difference, isn't it? So that means a minus a, capital A minus small a would be equal to small b minus capital A, because in arithmetic progression the common difference would be same. So from this equation what you would get is 2a is equal to a plus b, or a you could find it as a plus b by 2. Okay students, so in this way you could find the arithmetic mean of any two given numbers a and b. Okay. So what you have to do, if you are asked to find arithmetic mean of two given numbers, you insert a new number a and then use the concept of arithmetic progression. What is meant by arithmetic mean? When you insert that arithmetic mean in between, then all the numbers would form an arithmetic progression. And you know what is meant by arithmetic progression? Consecutive terms differ by a common difference. So you will be getting a capital A minus small a is equal to small b minus capital A. In this way you will get a is equal to a plus b by 2. So this is very important result. What is meant by arithmetic mean of two numbers means simply take their sum and divide by 2. And then similarly they could ask you to insert two arithmetic means. They will give you a and b. Ask you to insert two arithmetic means. Say let the arithmetic means be a1 and a2. The question is insert two arithmetic means. Here what you have to do is insert two unknown numbers, say a1 and a2. Now again, what is meant by arithmetic mean? When inserted, all those numbers would form an arithmetic progression. And you know the definition of arithmetic progression. The consecutive terms, they differ by a common difference. So a1 minus small a is equal to a2 minus a1 is equal to b minus a2. All these would be the same common difference. This is from the definition of arithmetic progression. And not only that, if you will add all these three, what you will get is b minus a is equal to 3 times d, or you could find d as b minus a by 3. Just add this one and this one, you will be getting b minus a times b minus a is equal to 3d. From this you will find common difference to be b minus a by 3. So substitute d is equal to b minus a by 3, and now use the relation a1 minus a is equal to b minus a by 3. So from this you could find a1 as a1 is equal to 2a plus b upon 3. Okay. Similarly, use the third relation, b minus a2 is equal to b minus a by 3. So from this you could find a2 as a plus 2b by 3. Okay. So in this way we have found both the arithmetic means. The first one is 2a plus b by 3 and the second one is a plus 2b by 3. Okay, students. Students, in this way they could ask you to insert any number of arithmetic means. So you need not memorize any formula over here. What you will do is look at the question, how many arithmetic means you have been asked to insert. You insert so many unknowns and then use the definition of arithmetic progression. What is arithmetic progression? Whenever all the consecutive pair of numbers they have the same difference, then we will call such a series as arithmetic progression. Okay. So use that and then you could find the arithmetic means. I think this. Okay. And then another important concept what you need to know is what is meant by geometric progression. We will continue with this discussion in the next class. So here I will be introducing what is meant by this. In short, we will write it as GP, or geometric progression. See, in arithmetic progression, what is the definition of arithmetic progression? Whenever the consecutive terms they differ by the same common difference, we will call that as arithmetic progression. Now consider numbers like this. Say for example 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 and so on. See, look at the pattern. Similarly, consider another pattern, say 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 upon 8, 1 upon 16 and so on. Or else consider 5, 100, 2000, okay, 40,000, so on. If you look at this series of numbers, what you could find is, see, the ratio between 2 and 1 is 2. Similarly, ratio between 4 and 2 is 2. And then ratio between 8 and 4 is again 2. And then ratio between 16 and 8 is again 2. See, here there is an interesting pattern. Whenever you will consider the ratio of two consecutive numbers, the ratio is being constant in this example. Similarly, look at the next example. Here the ratio of these two numbers, okay, it is 1 by 2. Similarly, the ratio of these two numbers is 1 by 2. Again, if you consider these two, again the ratio of these two numbers is 1 by 2. So here again, if you are observing the pattern between these numbers, you can observe that the ratio between the consecutive terms is constant. Okay. Similarly, look at the third example. Here 100 upon 50, 100 upon 5, this is 20, and similarly 2000 by 100, again this is 20. Here also you could observe that the ratio between the consecutive terms is, it is constant. Okay. So now it is clear. We are trying to discuss about the patterns where the consecutive terms have the same ratio. Okay. So whenever you come across such a pattern where consecutive terms they have the same ratio, we will say that such numbers are in geometric progression. Okay. The difference between arithmetic progression and geometric progression is, in arithmetic progression the consecutive terms they differ by the same common difference, whereas here they differ by the same common ratio. Okay. So that is the main difference between these two. Okay, so in our next class, let's see how to find the nth term and how to find the sum to nth terms of a GP. Like the way whatever we have done in arithmetic progression, similar concepts, okay, with respect to geometric progression, we will be learning in our next lecture. Okay, students. So do you have any doubts so far? You could raise it in the chat session. Are you guys having any doubts so far? Hemkesh?